CompTIA. We are going to do a little deep dive into lesson 1, installing motherboards and connectors. It has 10 tasks, 138 knowledge points. It's part of the very first part of the A+ Core 1 and Core 2 preparation for the exams, 220 and 1101 and 220 1102. We are inside the Cert Master Learning Labs. So let's take a look. And remember, all your resources are here on the left side: learning plans, strengths and weaknesses, lessons, PBQs, labs, practice, assessments, flashcards, Game Center resources. I'm going to scroll up and let's take a look at explaining cable types and connectors. So if I click on cable types and connectors, CompTIA Cert Master Learn for A+ Core and Core 1 and 2. It asks you here to kind of rate your confidence before you get into the unit. I'm going to give myself a confidence of medium, and I'm going to hold off there. Just give myself a little confidence medium. I'm going to look at the outcomes and objectives. It's a CompTIA. It gives us a little overview of CompTIA, not-for-profit trade association with the purpose of advancing the interests of information technology and IT professionals and IT channel organizations. Its industry-leading IT certifications are an important part of that mission. So the Core 1 and Core 2 certification is a foundation level certification. And this course helps you prepare for the two exams that are going to help you get that certification. The exams 220 1101 and the 220 1102. And here is a little outline of, upon course completion, what you're going to achieve. You're going to install and configure and troubleshoot PC, motherboard, system components, and peripherals. Compare different types of network hardware types, configure local addressing and internet connections. It summarizes uses for network services, virtualization, and cloud computing, and it also supports the use of mobile devices and print devices. And you can also configure and troubleshoot the Windows OS, support Linux and Mac OS operating systems, and configure Soho network security and manage PC security settings. So also, mobile apps are included, remote support and scripting tools, and operational procedures. So here's a little video kind of giving an overview. I'm just going to show how that plays. And this video provides potential job roles for the A+ certification.
When it comes to the world of the help,
and definitely go through, check out this video, check out the resources for the video. And now that I've read through this page, you're going to want to go and hit continue. Now, we're using the Cert Master Learn platform. I set a goal and completion date in the masthead. Our date for this particular course is pretty far down the line, so you'll notice that. Go through each study task, reading and watching all lesson content. For each task, you want to mark your confidence level on the lessons, and it's okay if you don't know something, because you're going to want to mark it and see how it feels and see if you can learn more information to help you get acquainted with the content. Complete the review activity and the performance-based PBQ questions, or a lab activity if it's included within that unit. Take the end of the lesson practice questions. Once you've completed all the learning plans study tasks, take the final assessment, which is a timed practice across all topics. So that's it after you've completed, all of the lesson work. There are flashcards in a Game Center. So here in this interface, as we're getting into the very first part of the study task of the lessons, they're giving us some of the tools that are available within the Cert Master Learn platform. Okay. So I'm going to give myself a medium on that as well, because it won't let me continue past this page unless I give myself a confidence. So here we are in lesson 1, and we're going to be looking at motherboards and connectors. So one of the main roles of the CompTIA A+ technicians is to install and configure personal computers, hardware, and it's a hands-on job. You need to know the parts of the computer. And it's a very important part as an IT professional to be able to know and understand how to do this, set up desktop computers, and also assist people at how to connect and work and learn with desktop computers. And often you are going to need to know how different devices connect to the computer, and those are the connectors to the computer. To complete tasks, you must understand how the peripheral devices and internal PC components are connected via the motherboard. As you may encounter many different environments in your work, you must also be able to distinguish and support both modern and legacy connection interfaces. So that's different types of ports. When they talk about modern and legacy, legacy are older, modern are newer ports. So an example would be a USB 3.0 would be a more modern port, a USB 2.0 would be an older port, and of course there's a difference between DVI, HDMI, and just understanding the differences. So in this lesson, it's all about explaining cable types and connectors, installing and configuring a motherboard so it works properly, and explaining the different types of legacy cable types. So those are older cable types and how they maybe have been modernized. I'm going to give my confidence once again as a medium. So the core objectives of the exam that are covered here is that a PC is made up of multiple components. All the components are needed to communicate with each other so the computer can function properly. If you can distinguish between the connections and the interfaces, you're going to be able to understand how things connect and work together. And you're going to be able to support people better, and also know that by installing and upgrading and replacing peripherals like printers or monitors, you're going to understand what's necessary to be able to do the job correctly. So that's the connection back to the exam-based objectives. So I'm going to give myself a medium. It allows me to continue. And we get into a section on personal computers. So the components of our personal computer are divided between those that are designed to be used by by the user. Those are peripheral devices, printers, and those that could be damaged or exposed, or those that would be damaged or dangerous if exposed. Peripheral devices typically perform the function of input, keyboards, mice, cameras, microphones, output, monitor and speaker, or external storage. The system case chassis houses the internal components of the computer. This includes the motherboard, central processing system, central processing unit rather, CPU. So that's one of our CPU is an important acronym to know. System memory modules, adapter cards, fixed disk, power supply unit. Most cases use a tower form factor that is designed to be orientated vertically or horizontally and be placed on a desk or a floor. PCs can also be purchased as all-in-one units. That can be the monitor and the case connected to each other. And that's the internal components are contained within a case that is also the monitor itself. To perform PC maintenance, you must understand how to open a desktop computer's case. A tower case has a side cover. Often it will pick up, slide, or there'll be something on the side that helps open up the side of a case of a PC. Cases might be screwed by, held together by screws or pins, retaining clips, and anti-security. They might have a lock in them in some business environments that you might need because you don't want these hardware to be tampered with. The front panel provides access to the removable drives, a power on and off switch, and the light emitting diodes, LEDs, to indicate drive operation. The front cover can be removed but may require the side panel be removed first to access the screws or clips that secure it. So if we're looking here at the image that they've provided us, you see that there's an optical disk drive that could be for DVDs, CDs that may have software or want to be viewed by the computer. You'll see that there's often a power on or power off switch, and often if a disk gets stuck, there's a little hole here in which you can put a paper clip and kind of pop the disk out. There are often additional bays that can be used for optical disk drives or additional places to add drive bays. Often there's a front input output, that's that I/O panel, audio and USB, different ports for indicating the different audio connections, maybe a headphone or a speaker or microphone, and of course different USB type connectors, as I was talking before about the difference between a USB 2.0 and a 3.0 connector, which we'll talk about further in towards the connectors. Often there's a power button, and sometimes there's a temperature case in order to, you do not want computers running too hot because it's not good for the components of the computer, and sometimes there can be mismanagement or external factors like a temperature of a room can be too warm. You want to make sure that that temperature can be monitored. Fan vents for airflow. And then if we look at the back of the computer, we'll see that there's a power supply with a fan to help keep it cool. There's where the power, the AC power is. A chassis fan for airflow cutout, so airflow can kind of flow in between, inside the device. And there's a motherboard with an input-output panel. So once again, we have an Ethernet port here, various potential input and outputs for audio, different USB ports, VGA, DVI, HDMI, and different USB ports, whether it be 2.0 or 3.0. An expansion card slot here in use here, and then there's potential other slots to be used. So expansion cards for different media cards or other cards that you want to be able to add different components to the computer. So that's a great graphic just to kind of review the input outputs of the computer, and also some of the other components of a computer that are important to its function in the work environment or at home. At the bottom of the rear panel, there are cutout slots aligned with the position of the adapter card slots to allow cables to be connected to any input-output ports on the cards. These slots should be either covered by an adapter card or a metal strip known as a blanking plate. That is this part at the bottom. And it also allows for proper airflow. All right, so this is a good graphic, gets you into the components, hardware components of a typical desktop computer. Let's click medium and continue. Now let's talk a little bit about peripheral devices. Okay, peripheral devices are devices that we connect to the outside of the computer. An input-output I/O port allows a device to be connected to the PC via peripheral cable. Some ports are designed for particular types of devices, such as a graphics port to connect a monitor. Other ports, such printer ports, Ethernet ports, USB might be for a mouse or for a keyboard. That's what we mean by peripherals. External ports are positioned at the rear or the front of the PC through the cutouts in the case, and they can be provided on the motherboard as an expansion card if you need additional ports. So here in the image that they show, they have the HDMI, the DVI port, the SATA port, USB, RJ45 network Ethernet port, and also some audio ports. Interfaces and ports. So a hardware port is the external connection point for a particular type of bus interface. A bus allows the transfer of data to and from devices. The connector is the part of the peripheral cable that can be inserted into a port with the same shape or the form factor. Each bus interface type might use multiple connectors or form factors. Most connectors and ports now use edge contacts and either have an asymmetric design called keying to prevent them from being inserted the wrong way, or around or reversible. So here we have a USB 3.0 port, a USB 3.0 connector to a micro connector, and that could be used for our portable hard drive. Often, some of these external devices have micro connectors that then have a USB connector to them, so you might need a micro USB on one end and a regular USB 3.0 on another end. But just notice, what type of, whether it's micro or USB-C or a USB 3.0, what type of port is on the device, and then what type of import on the device on the actual computer itself. So I believe most people are pretty familiar with that. Charging your phones, adding an external hard drive, connecting devices to computers so that they can function properly. Binary data storage and transfer units. When comparing bus interfaces, it's also important to use appropriate units. So computers process binary data. Each binary digit or bit B can have the value of 1 or 0. Storage is often measured in multiples of 8 bits, referred to as a byte. A lowercase b unit refers to a bit, while an uppercase means a byte. So transfer rates are expressed in units per second of the following multiple bits and bytes: 1,000 kilobits and kilobytes, 1,000 by 1,000 megabits or megabytes, 1,000 by 1,000 by 1,000 gigabits and gigabytes. So the reason why they're introducing here binary data storage and transfer units is that as we begin to talk about how peripherals connect to computers, we're also beginning to think about how data moves. And data is stored in bits, bytes, megabytes, gigabits, even terabytes. So just remember that is why we're beginning to kind of begin to discuss binary data storage and transfer units and how they're measured. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark myself as confident here, at medium confidence, and this will be the conclusion of this video, but I will make another video where we can follow up from our progress from peripheral devices, and what we'll do is we'll then move into universal serial bus cables and how those be connected to the computer. But thanks for checking out this video. I wanted to make it a bite-sized section to kind of talk about the introduction of the very first lesson and the components of that lesson. Thank you.